In the realm of conservative philosophy, the name Jordan Peterson has risen to prominence, capturing the attention of many for his controversial views on various subjects, from free speech and political correctness to gender and identity. Today, we'll take a closer look at Jordan Peterson's ideas, but I must forewarn you that this will be a critical examination from the perspective of a liberal thinker.
Before we dive in, if you find this content valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below. It truly helps us grow. Now, let's get started.
The rise of Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson's ascendancy to intellectual stardom is nothing short of meteoric. His popularity skyrocketed in 2016 with his opposition to Canada's Bill C-16, which aimed to add gender identity and expression to the list of prohibited grounds of discrimination. Peterson argued that the bill threatened free speech and compelled the use of specific pronouns. While many conservatives lauded him as a champion of free expression, liberal thinkers were left puzzled by the intensity of his opposition. Free speech or fear speech? One of Peterson's central arguments revolves around the importance of free speech. He claims to be a defender of free expression, often denouncing the perceived stifling of it by what he calls political correctness. While free speech is undoubtedly a fundamental tenet of democracy, it is essential to question whether Peterson's fervent opposition to perceived political correctness is a guise for promoting intolerance. Peterson's steadfast resistance to using gender-neutral pronouns as an infringement on free speech is dubious. Liberal thinkers argue that respecting an individual's choice of pronoun is not akin to government censorship but rather a sign of respect for an individual's self-identification. What Peterson labels as political correctness, liberal thinkers would argue, is a call for empathy, tolerance, and inclusivity. Ambiguous stances on identity. Peterson's views on identity, particularly when it comes to gender, are equally controversial. He contends that there are only two genders and that gender is rooted in biology. He opposes the idea that gender is a social construct. Such assertions, while appealing to those who resist change, neglect the experiences and rights of transgender and non-binary individuals. A critical examination of Peterson's stance on gender reveals a stubborn attachment to traditional definitions. A liberal thinker may argue that his views lack nuance and compassion. The recognition of diverse gender identities is not a threat to society but a step toward acknowledging the complexity of human experiences. Ideological divisions. It's important to acknowledge that Peterson's appeal lies in his ability to tap into the concerns of a particular demographic, those who feel disenfranchised by the rapidly changing social and political landscape. Peterson's conservative ideology aligns with the fears and anxieties of this group, particularly in a time when traditional values are being challenged. Yet, a critical question arises: are Peterson's ideas genuinely profound, or do they merely provide solace to those who fear change? From a liberal standpoint, it seems that Peterson's ideas are not so much profound as they are comforting to those who long for a return to the past. The science of self-help. Peterson often delves into self-help territory, offering advice on how to live a meaningful life. While his self-help wisdom might resonate with many, liberal thinkers may be skeptical of his selective use of science to justify his claims. His ideas about the hero archetype and the importance of order and chaos may be seen as oversimplified interpretations of complex psychological concepts. Moreover, the conflation of his self-help messages with his political views blurs the line between personal advice and ideological promotion. Liberal thinkers argue that it's essential to keep these two realms distinct to avoid manipulating people through emotionally charged rhetoric. The dark side of online fandom. Peterson's online presence is a force to be reckoned with. He has a devoted following, but this devotion has its darker side. Online communities that rally behind Peterson often engage in aggressive and sometimes toxic behavior. Liberal thinkers observe that Peterson's messages, intentionally or not, have cultivated a following that aggressively targets those who disagree with him, leading to a hostile online environment. Furthermore, the dismissal of any criticism as mere outrage culture only serves to stifle constructive dialogue and shield Peterson from accountability for the consequences of his words. Intellectual evasion. One perplexing aspect of Jordan Peterson's arguments is his tendency to evade direct questions. Rather than providing straightforward answers, he often employs a blend of philosophical musings and wordplay, which, while appearing profound, can be seen as a method of avoiding accountability. For instance, when questioned on his views about enforced monogamy in the context of reducing violence, Peterson responded with references to evolutionary psychology and anthropology, leaving many scratching their heads. Liberal thinkers argue that such tactics undermine the clarity and transparency of honest intellectual discourse. The slippery slope of conservatism. Jordan Peterson is often celebrated as a representative of conservative thought. However, his brand of conservatism raises questions about its compatibility with the values of compassion and equality. His staunch resistance to change, his traditional views on gender, and his apprehension toward social progress could be seen as reflective of a conservatism that perpetuates inequality and discrimination. Liberal thinkers are concerned that Peterson's popularity further entrenches regressive ideas at a time when society should be moving toward more inclusive and equitable principles. The echo chamber effect. One of the ironies surrounding Jordan Peterson is the accusation that he often speaks out against the perceived echo chambers of the left while simultaneously thriving in an echo chamber of his own. His supporters tend to validate his every word, and critical voices are often drowned out. This lack of diversity in thought undermines the very principles of intellectual debate that Peterson claims to cherish. From a liberal perspective, the blind adoration of a public figure without room for constructive critique is a perilous path to follow. In conclusion, a critical examination of Jordan Peterson's ideas reveals a complex and often perplexing landscape. While he is undoubtedly a figure with a significant following and impact, liberal thinkers often find themselves at odds with his views. Peterson's strong opposition to perceived political correctness and his views on identity raise questions about the true nature of his arguments. Are they an earnest call for free speech, or do they serve as a smokescreen for intolerance? Is his self-help wisdom genuinely profound, or does it blur the line between personal advice and political ideology? The troubling aspects of Peterson's online fandom and his propensity for intellectual evasion also give pause for thought. It is crucial to critically examine public figures and engage in a nuanced dialogue about their ideas. The rise of Jordan Peterson highlights the necessity of open, informed, and respectful discourse in our ever-evolving society, where conflicting perspectives play a vital role in shaping our shared future.